Now let's get to the first story. Besting a travel insurer. In 2013, my dad passed away while my brother and I were on our own independent international adventures. I was in Spain and my brother was in Canada, and we needed to get back to Australia. My travel insurance was dodgy but eventually paid out after a few complaints, which is pretty standard practice. My brother tried to claim $9K. He could only get one emergency seat on a bunch of connecting flights, and with that and his flight back after the funeral, etc. and other cancellations, it all added up. Shock horror, his claim was rejected. Back then, there wasn't an industry body that dealt with travel insurance companies, or if there was, we had no idea what it was. So my bro went through the usual hurdles involved with the appeals and complaints process. Eventually, they told him that his claim for $9,326 was rejected and their determination was final. So, back then companies didn't really have Twitter handles, especially not insurance companies. So my bro, Ever the Troll, created a Twitter handle in this insurance company's name, complete with their official logo. He quickly set about gaining thousands of followers and legitimately began answering their questions with truthful, albeit quite negative responses. Things like, "Cue my daughter and I want to travel to Paris. What insurance cover would you recommend? We would recommend you take the premium for our comprehensive cover and burn it. We don't like to pay out for any insurable event because it upsets our shareholders. Have fun in Paris," etc., etc. The insurance company got wind of this and sent him a cease and desist letter. My brother counter-offered with a contract for the company to purchase the Twitter account and 25 potential customers for the very reasonable price of $9,326. They agreed. Let's get on with the second story. I catfished a former boss to get paid. I used to work for a married couple, Billy male 52 and Gigi female 44, who owned a business services public relations agency. It lasted more or less for a year. They seemed nice and humble, but in reality, they were shady and untruthful. The company began to falter because of poor management and zero intention to prioritize. Billy was your baby-faced next-door neighbor type. He looked about 10 years younger and had a kind smile. He was soft-spoken and had an artistic and creative flair to him. Gigi looked matronly with a Mother Earth incarnate attitude towards her children. She prided herself on being ruthless when it came to giving her family only the best. She could be really nice when she wanted to, but I found out early on that she was 100% apt at gossip and being defaced. The company's constant changes were a red flag. They went from business services plus PR agency to a provider, to a business incubator, to indie beer partners. What I'm trying to say is that they tried to dip their donut on everyone's coffee. Figuratively, some of us had no real way to escape. The lady working next to me was already 67 years old and scared that no one would hire her. I wasn't in a great place either. We were 8 employees in total. They wouldn't lay anyone off because they believed that the employee should quit. They paid us only a portion of our salaries, which is an incomplete weekly payment. Employees would run for the hills once they found a better job. Some of us were stuck. It was horrible. Then they would pay the normal rate for a month and then do it again. They never cut down on their luxury expenses. So the wife would post her shopping sprees or arrive in a new car like it was nothing. Zero empathy. Very insensitive. The husband was obsessed with making it big time. So much that he sometimes failed to see an opportunity right in front of him. He said he was Coca-Cola's brand manager. I swear I looked it up and could never find any reference. Gigi had a display full of small local magazines, mostly about design and architecture. They were very proud to be a team member, but in reality, they just helped them print to issues. They wanted big business only, but in the meantime, looked down upon tangible potential clients, like the young Latino couple who showed up trying to learn more about their services. They seemed lost because they wanted someone to help them set up a coffee business and had no idea how it was done. I talked to them and helped them into the waiting room. They even showed up with their baby in a stroller. That means they must have driven by and decided to come in. An impulsive client should be retained. The guy said his grandpa had a farm and he wanted to create an exports company. Once Billy showed up, he listened for a bit, then gave them an abrupt dismissal. That was a dick move because that couple opened their own business with someone else and even have a FB page. It could have been Billy. Billy lined his office walls with posters of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. His wife, the chief enabling officer, put up signs on each room. The main employee area was the machine room. Billy's office was the chamber. The conference room was a meeting of the minds. Every time an employee disagreed with Billy during a brainstorming session, Gigi would call them aside and tell them that Billy is your boss. You need to know that he is brilliant and a genius. I want him to have that taste of success. I experienced that firsthand. I also hated brainstorming because that was never on my job description. They just wanted to pick everyone's brains. In the meantime, we had to see the Pandora jewelry, the expensive makeovers for their daughters, and the weekend at the spa updates on FB. Gigi's captions were usually about rewarding herself after a hard week or because she deserved it. And I'd like to mention that they bought into the social guru phrases about emotional direction. So if an employee ever got angry, Gigi would tell you, remember, the one who gets angry is the one who ends up losing. For anyone who's been in this situation, you may understand how painful it can be. You cannot leave the job because you have no other job waiting for you. And pathetic as it may sound to some income is better than no income at all. This is an involuntary compromise and it's abusive. Why were we expected to pay for their luxuries via incomplete wages? My best friend's ex is into coding and programming and he agreed to help. If it didn't work out, at least we would have something to laugh about. We created a kick-ass fake website with a matching LinkedIn and the whole 9 yards. To make a long story short, this was supposed to be an investment company, and my friend would be very casual, nothing too eager. He started by liking my employer's FB page, then comment. Before we knew, my boss took the bait and was engaging. They exchanged emails and he was eager to share all his projects and ambitious shit. On the other side, the investor sent him a list of requirements, like proof of concept, employer payroll, hash, etc. The investor agreed to work them if they could prove they were legit and up to date. No bank account of confidential info was asked. Within 3 weeks, I was paid the equivalent to the 2 months and a half I was owed. The investor did an about face and never contacted him again. I left the job as soon as I could. My friend who remained until she got paid told me our boss seemed off and a bit down after he announced big things are coming, but it all seemed to deflate. I never disclosed what was really going on. Edit, my boss wasn't scammed into paying money to the fake website. He was catfished into getting up to date with employee salaries that he owed. Edit, I expanded the story. Edit, for anyone who doesn't understand the story. No money was paid, asked from or wired from my boss to the investor. We baited his greedy character and told him that if he could prove everything was in order, the investment would happen. This included the payroll. No confidential info was asked nor offered, seen, or reviewed. He paid everyone what he owed them. The payment was made to each worker as normally. No one stole money via any website. He just made the diligence. My numbers and what we asked are not confidential. On to the third story. Don't want to fix my ad issue. Well, I think it's time for a new CTO. I just want to state that this ad issue is going to blow some people's ducking minds. The security flaw that this presented was nothing short of incredible. And the fact that we never had a major security breach is astounding. It truly is. The flaw, you may ask. Everyone in the entire company password was the same password. Yes, folks, you read that right. Every single password to every single employee login was the same password. It was like this before I joined the company, and for quite a few years after. Until ... Well, enjoy the story. Now, what about the username? That must be the trick, right? Oh yay, that was a trick. The username was the employee email address. I did point out this flaw to my management, and their response was, that's not our area to be concerned about, so whatever it paid, well, I'll do my job. And then one day, we had a Windows update which caused a piece of the software I used at work to break. I submitted a help ticket, and after escalating this issue, I got to the CTO. It wasn't a huge company. The CTO said, I don't want to spend the time fixing this. Use this workaround, to which I pointed out the workaround slows things down. Makes my job harder. And this Windows update has to affect more than just me? I was told to suck it up. Now at the time, the CEO was the son of the founder, and a bit of duckwit. I legit feel at this point in time he was just collecting a paycheck and letting everything run on auto and didn't pay attention. But I was mad at the CTO for brushing me off, so I penned an email to the CEO. It was a short email. I simply said, I discovered a massive security flaw that could potentially expose us to huge liabilities. When would be a good time to discuss this? The response, what security flaw? I decided to demonstrate the flaw. I picked a random salespeople, I didn't know them. I got their username and I logged into their systems. And I pulled to random customers' personal information, the kind of information that would have easily allowed me to commit identify fraud, pull out credit in their names, etc. All kinds of bad stuff. I emailed the CEO and I explained anyone who knows the URL to log into our system can log into any one account, pull up customers' information, and everyone has the same password. To prove this, I logged into 2 employees' random accounts and pulled to different customers' profiles. And I've attached them. One single disgruntled employee could screw us over. 25 minutes later my phone rings. Hit the CEO. He was nice. Very interested in how I did this. This guy isn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. And I pointed out the flaw in plain English and the liability that it presents to him. I walked him through the process of hacking my own account, as he called it. I'd hate to call it hacking cause it was so easy. Now it dawned on this CEO that this liability was huge. I pointed out again in our conversation a single upset employee could destroy us. The fact that it hadn't happened already is nothing short of a miracle. I get told they want me to present this to the executive team, so they can discuss a solution. Honestly, the solution is ducking obvious. So a day later we have the conference call. It's the CEO, the CTO, CFO, the company lawyer, the senior VP, etc. And on the call I demonstrate the flaw, and I lay out how I, as a layperson with very little background, is able to figure this out. It's incredible that we have this flaw. Everyone is in agreement that is a huge issue. Expect the CTO. The CTO gets very upset at me. He wants me fired for hacking the system. He says that per our employee handbook what I did is a fireable offense. I point out that I'm not abusing this loophole, and I'm only doing it to expose the flaw because I care about the company. And I think this is something that needs to be brought forward. I point out that a former disgruntled employee could log into an account and steal customers' personal information, and if that were traced back to us, the liability would be huge. I could tell our corporate attorney agreed with me and was shocked at what I was demonstrating. The CTO pointed out that former employees' usernames are disabled, to which I pointed out every employee's username is their email address. It would be trivial for a former disgruntled employee to use a different employee email address that they remember to log in. And since everyone's password is the same, they don't even have to guess. The CTO points out that we would know who did it cause of the IP address. I pointed out that VPNs are indeed a thing. The corporate attorney actually wasn't familiar with what VPNs do, and I explained it. And what shocked me, if the whole time the only person in the meeting who didn't agree this flaw needs to be changed was the CTO, the CEO made it clear that this issue would be fixed by the end of the business that day, and there were no ifs or buts about this. The meeting ended. After the meeting, the CTO called me. Privately, he was pissed. I just exposed his incompetence because the system was his design. The decision for everyone to have the same password was his decision. And I know why he did it. He did it cause he was fucking lazy. And I said to the CTO, "You're a shitty CTO, you shouldn't be in the position you are. And you're lazy, you should have found a better solution for my help ticket." He stops and asks, "So this is about your stupid help ticket?" I go, yes it is." He laughs and says he's going to have me fired, and I laugh and go, "I'm pretty sure someone is getting fired. I'm also super confident that's not going to be me." Well, sure enough, later that day we got an email stating that everyone was to change their passwords to something unique. A week later, the CEO announced the old CTO stepped down to spend more time with his family. On the first day of the new CTO tenure, he sent me an email telling me he wanted to personally work on my help ticket and find a solution around the Windows update, which I'm pleased to say he did. And I later had conversations with our attorney at a meeting. We legit never had a security breach, which is simply astounding. The attorney admitted that was just plain dumb luck on our part. And if we would have had a security breach, it would have been very bad for us. Now to the last story. Be sure to pay your help. I had been working at a computer repair shop on a commission-based system. We would get PCs in and the techs would not get paid until the repair work was paid for, and if the client did not pay for the work performed, the shop would take possession after a time and resell the equipment. It was not uncommon for the techs to be screwed out of work they had done. To make this job sound even more appealing, the shop owner would throw PCs from his friends and family to fix, which was not paid work. I was looking forward to a pretty big check due to just cranking out the repairs, but I found out that these were all friends of the owner, so I worked for free those 2 weeks. One of the things that we do is pull the HDs and create a complete image of the whole drive for archival protection to be wiped after the job is done. Turns out that the owner of the computer shop and his wife were part of the swingers community and were hosting a small but local swingers site that they ran off of the notebook they brought in for repairs. I grabbed the hard drive and told the owner that he needed to pay me for the work I had done. The owner fired me on the spot. I had grabbed my tools and I walked out the door without realizing I had the HD in my hand. The owner had built a reputation in the small town it was located in for being a good Christian business. And the owner portrayed himself as a pillar of the community. I happened to get the information off the drive and I was able to get access to his passwords, plus close to 4 terabytes of pics. and videos of their swingers website. Waiting on my 3 weeks for the last check, I decided that I would go scorched earth instead of looking for a payout. Step 1 is business. I had some time to look over the labor laws and found out he violated quite a few of them with me. We were treated as contractors, but he took out taxes and SSI which he never paid into the system. The other thing was we were required to clock in like hourly employees, but were paid on commission, so due to the pay structure, many employees were getting well under minimum wage for some weeks. Step 2 is reputation. Having to sign on information, I decided to do a few interesting things with the company website and their swingers website. I put a link at the bottom of the company webpage where I directed people to the swingers site they ran, and I changed the password authentication to allow everyone into the paid areas of the site. I also took down some of the pixelated pictures of him and his current wife and posted the original pics. It took them about a week to find out about all of this. I also sent out a mass email to everyone on the owner's email list to check out the swingers site. I also gave his ex-wife the drive to help her in her court battle. The fallout: long-standing contracts had been terminated by his clients in droves. The labor board did an investigation and fined him for his rule breaking, and the IRS did an audit where they found further evidence of his crimes. In the end, he lost his business, his kids, his reputation, and his current wife because he thought he was too much of a big shot to not pay his help. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.